A lot of interesting things in as well. Next, as we start to setting us up for what happened to Israel with in the land of Egypt. Okay, over and over again, but we'll get into that next week. At least into a little bit. But as we look here, as we were saying, Joseph was persecuted by his brothers. He was sold into slavery. Basically, he was sold. He was gone. He was rejected by his brothers. He was also rejected by his people, right? And just as old, also the men of Yeshua and to the and I just want that all the things that have come upon Messiah anti-Semitic as if the church is say the church has not replaced Israel. That doing exactly what we do about the branches from the wildlife into Israel. Don't think of yourself being more important than the rich. Okay? Church is more important than actual Gentiles. Also being saved for the returning of Shaul. They're believing, if they believe, be like, and that's what we're going to be looking at here again. That Joseph, and he recognizes, don't be mad. God sent you. Yeah, don't argue on your track. God sent me ahead of you. Why? Prepare. Prepare to save lives. Prepare a place for, just as Yeshua, to prepare a place. And we see the of stuff. We see the separation between the first Joseph story and the leaving the land, right? Going into, okay, Judah. Judah represents into into exile, right? And of course he returns as we return to the land today. Primarily Judah, the tribe, but all the other tribes are there. All of them represent. But because God knows who they are, and what's interesting is that Israel knows where they are too, as they bring more Israelites back to different parts of the world. Things we can look at is that now in Yemen, they come and they see there's a famine going. We talk about famine. In this sense, it's a spiritual famine because God Jacob to what happened to his son. Remember, Jacob is a prophet. Yaakov, God would have revealed to him these things if it was necessary. But a famine of prophecy does not know what's going on. He which we should the bread of life. The Egypt go to the world is the right? And they have to the land of okay? The different countries that people lived in. They've had to go about a lot of and that go to get the grace of Joseph, but they don't. Joseph wears these dresses, and I want to this because the same things happened to by the Gentiles that dressed them up in the Gentile. According to the Gentiles, with the Torah, that Israel's people. Okay. That replacement theology. Israel has always been God's people. It's not Jews that have to join Christianity. Gentiles have to join Israel, not become Jewish. Recognize Yeshua is a Jewish rabbi. As a Jew who taught Torah to his disciples, just like the other rabbis did, who did die, but then God. Joseph was dead. Jacob, I was explaining to you a couple ago, the brothers really didn't know what happened to Joseph because they had put him in the cistern, gone, him out because they heard crying. Okay, like I said, he thinks that his father and brothers conspired. You know, that's what we're looking at. He doesn't know in that sense, but he doesn't. He knows that God has a will and a purpose. He sees it. A prophecy of dreams about what was going to happen. He didn't understand them at the time, but I'm sure he's seeing it now when his brothers come before him. And now it's his turn to test his change. Are you the same old? You know, and they go back to the land. You know, if you come see my face, if Brother Binyamin is with me. Now, symbolically, Binyamin represents. That's okay. And this is what we're seeing. So Jacob has to. Reuben wants to, you know, says, "Hey, if I can just kill my sons." I mean, he's basically instead of doing responsibility for what he did, hold it on me forever. He doesn't come back. Reuben, I again, just take my kids and kill them. You know, that's fine. You know, but Jacob's like. And says, "Hey, look, and it's on me, on forever." And finally, Jacob relents and says, "Okay, because we got to have food." And so they go, right? And they go and they bring gifts and stuff to Jacob, bring money back, right? To get more. And what's in that time? You know, Joseph came up there being a prophet. He interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, right? And they of course came true. And Pharaoh made him the vice pharaoh, the viceroy of Egypt. And he became what changed to Panea, not Panea. Okay? And what Yeshua relate to? He said he was the bread of life. This, because through Joseph that people survived. And survived. Right? Israel and for the nations. And so, a story that Joseph, big feast, everything, and stuff. They go, but Joseph had his servant servant, his silver the mining cup in pack, right? Because he's execution is basically what these tests being like. Be good now, good, and Israel has been around, and they're good. And think everything's now going to be good, everything's going to happen. Now some things again, you know. I see this happen here. So something that's been going on for a time. And it has to do with Israel. Moses told them that these things would happen, that they would come upon thing that Israel is loving each other, right? Both because of hatred, we need to have baseless love to restore everything, right? That baseless includes what I was telling you about too. Don't recognize the Reformed Jew. We need to forget about that and have baseless love instead. Accept each other. Okay, we have different. We're people on Facebook that says we are, because that's what my big family. So they Benjamin. I'll go to Joseph. This is where we take off here. And then Yehuda approached Joseph and said, "Please, my Lord, let your servant say something to you privately, and don't be angry with your servant, for you are like Pharaoh himself." And he goes on to explain, "You are the one who asked us, who we were, and we had a father, another. You know this stuff. I told you that you say you wouldn't see our face. We brought a lone survivor, father, who come back. He's just as Yeshua was sent, so God sent Joseph. Okay, Yeshua was sent. He was a disciple, of God, Shaliach. And so Joseph, the picture. No, but given this plan, his brothers come and test them, see if they are up. And first time he put it in prison, Shimon, they brought Benjamin out. This time, and they leave, and then rest or Benjamin is Joseph. Thing in Yeshua is church. Thing in and we see because he says, I cannot grave again. Go to the grave. That's his burden. I already shouldn't have done. Benjamin is a brother to him. Yeshua is that brother of Israel. And I just want to tell you right now, that because of October 7th, we are starting to see, matter of fact, on Facebook from rabbis in Israel and usually Yeshua and church and stuff have placed there, and I kind of shared a couple, that this is a Jewish man, a Jewish He was not a Palestinian. Okay? They are starting to see him as Jew, as brother. One of the ones that did that was Rabbi Shmuel. And I really love a lot of his teachings. I don't agree with everything. That's okay. I mean, who agrees with me? The thing is that he pointed out with his book, The Kosher Jesus, it's in by Rabbi Shmuel Boteach, the Kosher series, Kosher Idolatry, what they seem. And that the ones too does a lot of teaching on that. This for him to do that. First, other stuff were when he first did it, were just. But now we're what rabbis are each actually saying, he was a fellow Jew. He was not no matter what the Palestinian and a lot of the church that are out there, churches that are agreeing with the okay, especially national. That to me, they're no different than okay. Theology is the same, and just warning. Be careful. I mean, it's not first. Keep it. Sir, he does. Like I said, at first, you see what there are really. Okay, I've done it. You've done it. Got there. Seen what these are. And I got in there and started reading and studying what they're about. Really, stay away from it. They are very anti-Semitic. But the idea is that Judah stands up to Joseph, in essence, the church, in the sense, as a Gentile, or in this sense, okay, recognize what he speaks a different, right? A different Torah, speaking. It's Greek and stuff. Okay, I'm not. The thing that I disagree with is okay. Another thing, be messianic. Their anti-Semitism and replacement. Okay. Even the ones who there was historical background for any of that. Somebody came and said, people are believing. Be watching out for that. It's not true. But we see that Judah stands up to Joseph. Standing up for, I believe, for Yeshua coming. And then he finally says to himself, he says, you know, it's hard to the point where he says, at last Joseph could no longer control his feelings in front of his attendants and cried, get everybody away from me. Now here's the thing. We all know that when Yeshua comes, to see him, right? The thing is when Yeshua, he's going to do it privately. Joseph does it personally. Yeshua is doing this right now. He's doing it right now. He's doing it personally. Jew, just like when the Torah was given at Sinai, it says that God went to every Jew and Torah, and they said, he also went to every nation and people and asked, could you accept the Torah? And they said, no. It was only Israel. Okay, that's a midrash, but still. The point is that Yeshua is revealing himself to Israel now. And Isaiah 50, is it? Yeah, Isaiah 50, where it says that the nations are going to be things about the Messiah. They weren't told these things. They've been told, been gifted a handful of lies and misunderstandings and stuff. So that when they see with Joseph, it says that Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph, is it true that my father is still alive? His brothers couldn't answer him. They were so dumbfounded at seeing him. You know, that's what it says, or Isaiah, that that the nations were dumb. That's what they were told. What they others saying, brother, what? Can't speak. And then it says that he says, please come closer. And they came closer, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Because that's what he thinks, right? It doesn't matter. But don't be sad that you sold me into slavery here, or angry at yourself. Sent me ahead of you to preserve. Sent me ahead of you. Yeshua is doing, and it reveals to our people, Israel. He's saying kind of, be sad that you missed this, because God sent me ahead of you to preserve life. Israel had the opportunity now. If Israel would have repented and got rid of their basis, they could have entered into the era, right? We are from when the 12 spies went to spy out the land, and they came back, was ready to enter the testimonies and misunderstanding and treachery of the other 10 spies. They missed their opportunity. Israel missed their opportunity with Yeshua at that time. But as Paul says, that it's not because they rejected, that God has rejected them, but that they're blind for the Gentiles to be saved, to be able to come in. Okay? God has always made room for them. Just like we're reading here in a couple of chapters, so we can start in Exodus in a couple of weeks, is that when Israel left Egypt, it says they left with a mixed. It wasn't just, it was all nations, Nubians, Ethiopians, who took hold of Israel. Who believed the promises of Moses, hold of him, and went with Israel. They this Joseph there, and they cry, and they're just all these different things, and still have that back of their minds, right? Because we'll read that next week about that after guys and stuff. They come together. Oh, we better. Not a dad's price, maybe, but again, he says, don't worry about it. And so he says that he's come down. in the land of ocean, the best of the land can dwell, right? And that's this is like the picture of the nations. Uh, uh, how bad it happened. How Israel fire, the fire, and they're again redeeming, as Yeshua said it would happen. When we see and so this anyways, you know, here now stuff and everything, and Pharaoh, we'll get uh, you're right. Remember, there's a famine going on, not just famine of and stuff like that, but and so they go, and of course on the way, right? Don't basically Jacob, and Jacob's like, so they were to him. Let's see, the land of Canaan. They told him, "You're still, he is ruler." He was stuck to them, but it was only when he saw the Father. It's a picture of that Yeshua hasn't done yet. He hasn't gathered back to Israel, to the land. And that's what our people are looking for. That's what it says that the Messiah will do. He will gather the people to the land of Israel, right? He hasn't done yet. He's coming. Okay? Revealing, though, as he is revealed now. Start bringing Israel, and with the state of Israel being reborn again. Remember, Ezekiel, my bones, they've got flesh, a secular government. Okay, we have no spirit, but the time is coming, and who's that spirit going to be? It's going to be the Messiah. Okay, and as we go through here, they can finally see we're going home. It has to be Joseph. Because we're going home. We're going home. Joseph, we wish you. That's very. And not only that, but he goes. And as we get there, says, "Hey, the God of your fathers and your grandfather, go into Egypt. From there, that I will bring your and bring you out." Okay, so Israel says, "I will be there." Time Israel has gone into the diaspora, exile, God has gone. When we see that, name isn't in the book of Esther. We see God works to protect His people, right? Yeah, and in all the lands of our dispersion, there's always a remnant. There's always a remnant. And Jacob goes, gets there, but and right, Messiah comes from the house of Judah. He show us the way. The way the really was the promise now at that time as a picture, symbolically, land of Israel, a land. Okay, actually, we see Yeshua and Joseph picture the Messiah in the first coming of Messiah Yeshua, Joseph, and then all the things that are exiled and stuff, is exiled from his family. It doesn't say really why he left, because he couldn't handle the guilt, couldn't bear that all the time. But he does come back, right? He comes back just like Israel's come back. It's not the spiritual one until Joseph reveals himself. Then his father can see. We're going home now. My spirit is revived again, right? Israel, and those nations that take hold of Israel have a part in that, to be part of Israel, just like those who left Egypt, right? And so that's the story. That's that part. Now we're going to go on to another part, because the pictures aren't over. Okay. So we see to become slaves in Egypt. First, he buys up, takes up, in Egypt for Pharaoh. Takes all the cattle the next year. Takes all, right? Everything. Pharaoh has a right to the people, and just because Joseph doesn't mean that they are exempt from this. Pharaoh, to be true to his people, takes Israel as his slaves to his servanthood. But this Pharaoh, the new Pharaoh that comes up later, as we'll read next week, a couple of weeks, a new Pharaoh. When he was alive and of the Exodus, who took control. They were, how close is this? Another Egyptian people that took over Egypt. And the reason why is because they blamed Israel for their poverty. They blamed Joseph for their poverty. Just like it happened, like after World War II, Germany and stuff, and it happened, they had to come up with a scapegoat. Then it became a scapegoat. And so we see this happening. We see this new Pharaoh enslaving Jewish people. And not only their lives, every aspect of it, right? There's so much to see. We see this next part. Israel now being and reason. Something has continued to flow over the centuries, over history, that when things are going so good, the adversary is there and muddle things up, and all of a sudden we're back to where we started, that things are bad. And well, as part of the curse that God told Moses would happen to Israel, is that unless you repent, unless you back to me, it has to do with Yeshua in that sense. That all of them reject do that. It has to do with and for each other. God gave them the Torah all unified. Okay? And that has to happen again with Israel. They have to be unified in God when himself in that same. And we're starting to see that now. Like I said, we're seeing Israel defending Benjamin, Judah defending Benjamin, which is, like I said, symbolically the church, or Yeshua in this, claiming him now as the start. So we're starting to see some of the next things we can start to see too is which is interesting because is that yes, it again with the what happened and so trying to make things right. Now what's happened? Everybody's on Israel. Things were good. Now all of a sudden, it's turning on Israel again, right? Well, it's the same cycle, right? And to continue that way until We see it in prophets and stuff like that. That is a cycle that continues. For us to question God. He sees the big picture. We're finite. We only have a small portion, but God is already out. What to do is have faith in God, to trust Him, that He knows what He's doing, right? He's got this plan. We're a part of it. We do not see the end of it. I mean, even Abraham didn't see it, nation, but seen the things, and we get to begin the next part, whether we take part in it or not. The thing is that trust and is faithful and trust to keep His word. So, and the thing that thing, I don't know when, but just alter the right spot on the Temple Mount, and with that we'll begin. It doesn't matter if the rock is. All you have to do is on the Temple Mount to start up the. And in the gathering, take back to Jerusalem. We're not going up to heaven. Here's the rapture and stuff like that. That's they misinterpret the whole thing. Genealogy starts way back in the Genesis. Okay. To Jerusalem. The thing is, we're not going to escape the what's it called? The tribulation. We're going to go through. It says Israel went through 3 plagues, which they weren't rated them. So we're still going to suffer the. Those of us will be separated, like to the rest of the nation. And so be prepared to escape it. God never said that. Just as Israel went through the tribulation, we will go through the tribulation. Just as it is Israel, not the church. Okay? The church isn't even in the Bible, to be honest with you. It's ecclesia. Okay? And we just have to realize, understand that we are accepting the Torah of God, the Torah of Israel. Yeshua is the living. Therefore, for all of us, for the Gentiles, as well as for the Jews first, as Paul said, to the Jews first and then to the Gentiles. Remain as you are. You know, if you're mistaken, start in the command. As we went through that book, it talks about there are a lot of commandments for the Gentiles. Israel has that calling, that unique in that way, but also for the Gentiles. So as we go this, we've got the secular New Year coming up next Thursday night, something like that. Thursday. So, and we won't have. Just we're in the 6th, the Jewish New Year, right? Which is awesome. But you know, just think, where are we with God? What's our relationship, right? The people that are sitting around waiting. It's people who are up and doing something. That's what we need to be about. me? You know, keep, you know. As a Jewish person, we have a lot of it. As a Gentile, so much. You're the person of Israel. Part is recognizing that now he hasn't fulfilled that part of being the Messiah, but by the Messiah. Okay, he was a prophet. He was a Pharisee. He died. Was persecuted by the Romans, and that by faith he is and will restore other people, and those Gentiles have taken according to 23, right? And bring it back to the land, back to Israel. Start up the sacrifices again, and then conquer the rest of the nations and bring them under. That's what we have. All right, bow your heads for. Our God and God of our fathers, bless us with the threefold blessing in the Torah written by the hand of Moses, your servant, and pronounced by Aaron and his servants, the priests, his sons, the priests, your holy people. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May it be your will. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May it be your will. May the Lord turn towards you and grant you peace. Yevarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai pa'elecha v'yichnecha. Yisar Adonai panav elecha v'seim lecha. Shalom. Shalom. Tuesday, rhetorical study. Up. Then we'll questions for our Wednesday night study for the following week. This next week, anyways. Other than that, join us for Nosh for Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbos.